Okay, I'm going to start drawing the eye, giving an example of how to approach this drawing the eye. So I'm using a plaster cast, a photo of a plaster cast of the Eye of David. You can find these online. You can actually purchase plaster casts online. So I always begin my drawing by sight measuring the basic height and width. So the basic height and width of this plaster cast is roughly a square shape. So I'll decide where I want to place my drawing. So I'll give a top line, bottom line. So I'll create a field in which I want this drawing to be. So I do want my height and width to be within that same square format. Of course, this is a generalization. You know, the plaster cast is cut at an angle here. So this angle's down. Also, there's a slight angle at that. So once I start to measure, start with my measurements, many of us are drawn to this eyeball pupil area. So let's think, we're looking at this entire structure. So I'm looking at the whole structure of the brow. You know, you can sight measure, where does that brow come in? Where is this pupil? So let's start with the pupil. So I'm going to measure it's slightly below the center. This is the top. I'm going to come down right about here. We'll place our pupil. And the center of the pupil, 1, 2, is approximately at the 1/3 point. So see, we've got 1, 2, 3. So we might say this is generally where we'll place the pupil. This brow, 1, 2, a little bit more than 1/3 down, 1, 2. So I've got our brow line. This corner, we've got the corner of the eye and the tear duct. This tear duct area is very important. What we have here is the eye socket. So we want to really make sure that we are really intentional about how we address this eye socket. So why don't we figure the eye socket is roughly almost at the halfway point. So if we look at the half of our square shape, we can decide that the eye socket is going to be somewhere at the half. It's slightly above the pupil. So why don't we say our eye socket's right about here. And this eye socket, tear duct area, 1, 2, is at the 1/3 point. So 1, 2, here's our tear duct. So we're going to say that our tear duct is right at the 1/3 and comes down almost halfway between the top of the plaster cast. Okay, so if this is our tear duct, I'm just going to roughly sketch in this tear duct area. The lid goes up and over and then down across this eyeball. So let's put the eyeball in. Here we have our eyeball. And with this eyeball, it is in the eye socket. And our lid is going to wrap up and over this eyeball. So I put in my general So eyeball comes up and around here. Even though we cannot see this side of the eyeball, we really want to put that eyeball in the socket. Now we have a lot of lines here, so I'm going to go ahead and erase some of them. But we've put in the basic structure of what we're drawing. Put in our basic key lines. Top eyelid, next eyelid.